if I get the building files, from, let's say, OSM, or even if you've digitized a particular region, then you have 2D data. Does that mean that you can automatically convert that to 3D? Well, the answer is yes and no. Yes, because you can convert that using, for example, if you already have the height components. Remember, I've mentioned that SuperMap, much like any other provider, is a provider. It is not, for example, it means that if you want this data, you'll get it with SuperMap. The same way we've mentioned that as a provider, you're able to have the spatial data, perform analysis on that data, then be able to make solutions and apply that to real world problems, right? So in this particular instance, if you do have the height component, of course you can realize this. But if you do not have the height component, of course, it may be an issue unless for visualization purposes, you attribute perhaps a dummy height. Let's say you set that, for example, in this particular instance, for most it's changed over a period of, let's say, varied epochs. So the next thing would be on Python scripting. So being able to add other functionalities or automation of tasks on the iDesktop X product. We now have the cloud product. I think I had mentioned briefly on iServer. This is where ideally you're being able to publish if you're mainly looking at, for example, you already have your map, then you're now looking towards adding other functionalities or interactivity between the user and the final map. You'd first have to publish it, then proceed to now program in JavaScript. So in this particular instance, this is simply an instance of publication of the map now onto SuperMap iServer. In this particular case, this is publication of 3D data. Yes, I had already showed you how we came up with the 3D data sets. We then have iClient. This is mainly for the developers and the programmers, where, as I've mentioned, you're now seeking to do more with your map. It could be, let's say you could have perhaps 2D, you already have your 2D map, or you already have your 3D scene. You've then published it, and then you'd like to add, a popular case we'll start with is, for example, for land cadastre management. So you already have your cadastre. You're then looking to have a situation where you have the website. You'd like to allow the user to make updates on the website. For example, if it's adding of new land parcels, as well as any attribute information that is related to that, or be able to enable the user to equally delete that. So SuperMap iClient allows you to then realize this. We then have SuperMap iPortal. I've already dwelt so much on this. That's for customization simply. In this particular instance, this was a project we did for one of our municipalities. They wanted a dashboard that would enable any user, for example, in that department, be able to access any particulate maps. So if it's for, you're looking at the police, be able to access varied routes that have been created from maps, or be able to look at, just data management or something of the sort, you'll notice that it has quite a lot of things like the App Center, data visualization, be able to provide data insights, a map dashboard. For example, when you're dealing with 3D data, this is, for example, on iPortal, we have, of course, the map to my very top left. That's the very first image. Then the result and the other maps you're seeing, or okay, they're not really maps, those are graphical representations. We're having, charts, pie chart as well. The very right, you're also seeing some other things that you could do with your data set. So it provides ground to providing, giving more insights to the data that you're using, and then finally publishing that. In this particular instance, using iPortal, you're then able to come up with, an output that showcases, it's simply also land monitoring. To the very left, we're having other attributes and statistics that are in relation to whatever you're looking at. We're having a traffic monitoring dashboard. In this particular instance, 3D. Same analogy I've been using for all the other slides, most of the slides. We have the mobile products. This is for thematic mapping and symbolization. We have AR surveying. In this particular instance, the drawing of our polygons and being able to extract, if it's, for example, areas, distances, and something of the sort. Right, so next we're having, this is what I've already mentioned, the measurement of distances, the measuring of heights. the measuring of angles, the measuring of volumes. Yes, areas, measuring of volumes, for example, this particular cylinders. We have real-time target detection in this particular case. I'm sure this isn't new to you, especially if it's machine learning or artificial intelligence. Here, you're simply seeing the detection of the laptop or any other thing. Yeah, and to the right, you're actually able to see and classify the varied items that you're looking at. Here we have vehicle detection and statistics. I think I already talked about that. License plate recognition, that's not new to us. So now onto getting the SuperMap software product. I will provide a link as well as documentation for you guys. For those of you who haven't gotten the link to where you can be able to get the product from, to start out with, trying to acclimatize yourself with the software and what it has to offer, it's mainly on our main website, www.supermap.com, English US website. And you'll actually be looking at, once you get to the SuperMap website, you'll just click on support, then downloads and online help. You'll have such a representation. I'd advise that you download SuperMap GIS 10i. SuperMap GIS 11i is our latest product version that was released late last year, but I prefer, downgrading to the last one just in case you're having any issues. Then move on to download SuperMap iDesktop. That's the main one we'll be looking at. And then further on, depending on, the needs, we'll look at what we can look at. We then have the YouTube page. This is the main YouTube page. On this, I'd greatly advise for anyone who's interested to go over some of our tutorials. You'll notice that some are in English, some are in Chinese, some are in other languages, but it is our main source of, for example, if you're looking at varied resources, some are in Spanish, but it's a great resource for anyone who will be interested. Now, I want to talk to you about the SuperMap GIS contest. I think I've spent most of the time talking about the company as well as the technology and whatnot. The SuperMap GIS contest is actually a contest that is held every year. It has already started. I think it was launched this year, sometime maybe 21st or 23rd March. Now the GIS contest is divided into four user categories. The first group is a mapping group. The second group is the development group. The third group is the application analysis group, and the fourth group is the paper analysis group. For mapping group, this is some of, and for the GIS contest, it is only open for students. So that being, for example, if it's undergrad students, master's students, PhD students. Now the caveat here is you will be producing or coming up with your own outputs only using SuperMap products. So for example, all the way, if you're looking at mapping, these are some of the works that have been submitted for mapping in the mapping category. So we're having Serbia, I think we also had Nigeria submit something. This is for the application analysis group. And also take note that these are simply results that are done purely on SuperMap products. And that's equally what would be expected of you if you so choose to engage with or rather take part in the GIS contest. We have the development group the development group is mainly on programming. So in this particular instance, we had one student submit something for the wildfire, coming up with a wildfire management system using our mobile product. To the very right, we are having a published map of the same as well as added functionality. You'll see, we'll cover this, don't worry about it. We'll cover, I'm hoping to take you through the development phase as well, but we'll first have to start with using iDesktop. In that I mean basic map making. So next, this is a paper analysis. For paper analysis, it's akin to, for example, the final year projects. I think you guys also have your finalists have to undertake a project for the final year and then have sort of like a write-up. So this particular instance, this is, for example, coastal land cover research. something of a sort, where you're having the abstracts, you're looking at perhaps some literature on the same, then methodologies that you can use or something of the sort. Yeah, so I'd greatly advise and advocate for you guys to get into the JS contest, but perhaps we'll have more detailed discussion about this as we move on. I think the purpose of today's session was mainly to get you guys introduced to exactly what SuperMap is. Yes, so thank you. Thank you so much. Maybe perhaps I could now start looking at the questions. Let me stop sharing. If there are any questions, feel free to. If there are any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask as I look at if we have some data sets. Sorry, some questions in the chat. So feel free. Any questions? I see someone share the Zoom call recording after the call. There's someone I gave access to sharing. I'm not so sure who that is. Then is there a link for downloading datasets? Now notice, as I had, okay, let me start with the very top. Okay, from datasets, okay. Is there a link for downloading datasets? Now, when you're talking about links for downloading datasets, they wouldn't particularly be partnered or in association with SuperMap in any way. By that, I mean the same methodological approach that you normally have while doing analysis is the same thing you'll be bringing here. What do I mean? For example, I'd like to create a map. I'd like to map out crime in my area, for example, in Nairobi. So in this particular instance, you first start off by, answering the question, where do I get crime data? So that would either mean me looking at online resources that have crime data sets, or be able to go to, if it's the National Police Service or the Kenya Police Service, and then finding out how I can be able to get that data. Now, once you get the data, you then bring it onto the software, right? So it's the very same thing. It's the very same thing that you'd be using, or it's the very same analogy that you're doing for SuperMap. If you're working with, because I'm sure in class you're mainly using, let's say, S3's ArcGIS desktop. To those of you who love using QGIS, it's equally the very same thing. You're having your data sets, you're then bringing that on board. Because I know, for example, if you're using remotely sensed imagery or even vector data sets, we already have some websites or already have such providers, right? I believe USGS provides remotely sensed data sets or whatever, or in whatever case. So I hope I've been able to answer your question, Dennis. Please reply if I've been able to answer your question. Then, does SuperMap require a license? Yes, SuperMap does require a license. Now, the good thing is, once you download the software, you should automatically have a 90 days license. It should already kick in. But in the event that it doesn't, please reach out to me through, I'll give you my email address. I'll be able to handle that. And when I'm talking about, okay, just a minute. Just give me a minute. Okay. So that is the email address you'll be reaching out to me. You could email me on that. And that's not only with regard to the license. So that's the first thing. The license runs for 90 days, but that does not mean that after the 90 days, it simply means I cannot continue to help you guys cover, varied thematic areas using the software. So what I plan to do is after the 3 months, okay, Dennis. So after the 3 months, I will be able to renew your licenses. By that I mean I will be able to give you new licenses that will take you, for a further 90 days. So it should be something that should worry you. Right. Okay. So the part I love most is the Geo AI part. Looking forward to working with SuperMap. Me too. Yes, it's a good software. I'd greatly advise, because what I've covered may not be as adequate, but then look at online resources. It's never the end. The presentation is not the end of learning. So while I start taking you guys through the training, because I'm hoping to engage not only the main student body, but equally anyone else who would be interested. I'd like to engage you with taking you guys through the training bit. For example, you'll notice that SuperMap is very different in terms of data importation and exportation. And since it's a new software for you guys, I'm expecting that the basics, we'll also need to cover the basics. So that's where we'll start. Is SuperMap data formats compatible with other software? Yes, yes, it is. There was a slide I had on the data formats, and this is, I could cover it in more detail when we're having because once we start engaging, the very first thing would be on software deployment and a basic introduction to data importation and exportation. You'll notice a couple of things, but it is safe to say that if you're used to using other GIS softwares, it doesn't mean that you cannot, or rather SuperMap does not allow for using different data sets that you've been using in other softwares. So if you're looking at SHP files, if you're looking at Excel files, if you're looking at KML files and whatnot, SuperMap will be able to import that and provide analysis for that. When our training starting and what is expected of us, so I'm still in communication with your student body. I'm sure they'd be able to communicate. They are my liaison between you and I. What is expected of us? But this is mainly from you guys. You will need, as you progress, you would of course need to be passionate about it. You would of course need to be interested in it. You would of course need your computer. I would expect you, perhaps if you're having challenges, to reach out to me. I've already given you my email address. I am someone who I will try to get back to you as soon as I can. So in case of any eventuality, do reach out to me. Do you offer attachments and internship opportunities, please? So we do not offer attachments. The company is not registered in Kenya, but in the event where it may become necessary to do so, we could look at that. But at the moment, we're currently not taking in any students. Your email disappeared quickly. I didn't get it. Let me just type it again. And I had to put my video on because the next time I'm coming to your school, at least you'll be able to sort of match up my face to the person who was talking.
Eileen, Mburu, Eileen.
Right, so do we have any other questions before I give the floor to... Okay, one other thing is I will be sharing with you the installation guide. I haven't had anyone ask about in terms of installation, if there's a guide to that. So I will be sharing an installation guide with some of your student body members. They would be able to share that to your respective groups. Yeah, are you given a project by the company, or you can look for your own project that you would tackle? In most cases, we have clients coming in and requesting us to tackle a particular issue, and then we'd of course have our own solution, then have that done over a particular period of time, then present that to the clients. In other cases, now in this particular case, you'll notice that I spoke about working with other universities as well. So what I'll be doing with you guys is actually something I'm doing with the University of Nairobi, the Technical University of Kenya, Maseno University. In short, mostly I don't say the main universities, but quite a number of universities are already with us in terms of brand awareness of SuperMap. Now, you may also have a question of, so then if I learn SuperMap, is it there in the market, or does it mean that once I learn it, that's it? So an important thing to note is we're not only looking at universities. And SuperMap is simply trying to create brand awareness because it's already been successful in Asia, and now is when they're trying to catch up to the rest of the world. And because of COVID, we of course had to sort of like sit back a little. But then now that the situation with COVID is a bit better, we're now trying to create brand awareness. And remember, I had said I'm not particularly bringing you an alternative software. I am telling you that there is SuperMap, and there are things that you can do with SuperMap. Its main niche being in terms of dealing with 3D data, geoartificial intelligence, as well as big data. Yeah, so I think that's all. Do we have any other questions? I touched on development group. Kindly explain more about it. Right, so when I'm talking about the development group, this is mainly on the, like, you're mainly focusing on the programming aspect of things. For example, as I earlier mentioned, I was using a case study of coming up with a land cadastre management system. So you already have your map on one of our products, on the SuperMap iDesktop product. So you already have the map, but then you'd like to add more functionality to the map, or rather add more interactivity between the user and the map itself. So what you then do is, once you already have your map, you've already published it using iServer, you would then proceed to code. You then proceed to code using SuperMap iClient, and then be able to have the end result would then be an interactive web map. Yeah, an interactive web map. For some of the cases, I think some of the sample JS contest works I've shown you, one was on, first of all, a wildfire management system, another one was on a cadastre system. So that's mainly on programming. So I'm equally open to you guys to it, at least having one. So at least having sort of help you guys be able to see where you can be able to get the online resources if you are interested in the development side of things. For those of you who are not interested in the development side of things, but I will be taking you guys through it, is SuperMap iPortal. Now this is simply provides with you already with the dashboard and everything that you need. All you need is to provide the data sets, then be able to specify exactly what type of analysis that you'd want to do. I hope it's a bit more. Have I adequately answered your question, Brian? Okay. So any other question? Any other question? No question? Yes, okay, fine. If there are no other questions, I would kindly suggest, please turn on your videos. I need to take a group photo, if possible. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I will have it to my team, so kindly. I will have this forwarded to my team. And don't worry, I won't post it somewhere public. It's just I need to sort of document that we had this session moving forward. And where are the ladies? Are you we don't have any. Thank you. I need a few more, please. A few more, please, a few more. Thank you. I see one lady. Thank you so much. Yeah, two ladies. Good, good, good. A few more, please. Thank you for those who are supportive. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's fine. I think I can work with these. Right. Okay. It's on video, so I'll just clip it out. Right. Thank you so much. I'd like to pass the meeting over to one of the GDev group student leaders, if we have any. I see Francis. I think I saw Peter. Juma. I'd like to pass the meeting over to you. So if you can hear me, kindly take up the meeting and give a word of thanks or an acknowledgement or something of the sort. Or anyone can choose to do so. If they're not in, anyone can do so. The brave and strong. Anyone?
Hey, good evening all. Okay, thank you very much, Eileen. Thank you for the introductory meeting to SuperMap. Perhaps it's the most interactive one we have had. Recently, we met as executive and we are very pleased. So we recommended that the entire group should hear about the software. So we are very pleased you made it on time, and my colleagues, my fellow students, I'll call upon you to be cooperative and be attending meet sessions. I know I've interacted with the software. It's very good. I have the software both in my drive and the link. So if you need, you can look for me or any of the executives. Can also see our staff members, Mr. Obed, Wesley. That shows that the interest is high in the school. So to our team from SuperMap, Eileen and the rest, you can see we are very interested. So maybe before ending the word of thanks, I'll call upon Mr. Obed Wongare to maybe give a word or two. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mburu, for that opportunity. I could also wish to thank our presenter for the wonderful presentation that we have had. I've seen there is an increase in technology. So I had already done a training with SuperMap. We had an international training which I attended, though it was virtually or from China. Only that I have not had an opportunity to interact with the software more. But I hope with the help of
everyone. Okay, I will also want to thank the presenter for such a presentation. It was such an eye-opener for most of us. Thank you for the turn up for our students. I can see quite a huge number. And I think in the next presentation, there will be more than today's. So thank you very much for such a presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wesley. Yeah, I think that marks the end of today's meeting. We had it virtually. So even to our SuperMap team, in future, you may consider coming physically. It will be more interactive.
Okay, thank you as well. I think the meeting has come to an official close. Thank you so much, and we'll be in touch. Have a good evening.
Good evening to you all too.